Well, it's not quite born free, but the COVID-19 circuit breaker has offered a unique opportunity for some animals to grab a taste of freedom. So with its parks temporarily closed, Wildlife Reserves Singapore has given their charges more room to roam. So you might have seen this video online. These are African penguins on a stroll outside their enclosure. It's just one of the many enrichment methods that keepers have come up with to keep animals' minds stimulated while the parks are closed.
Wildlife Reserves is also offering online resources to engage the public. For more, we're joined by Dr. Cheng Wen Hauer, Deputy CEO and Chief Life Sciences Officer at Wildlife Reserve Singapore. Thanks for joining us this evening. Firstly, with the parks temporarily closed in response to the circuit breaker measures, what's the effect it's had on wildlife reserves?
During this period of circuit breaker, our parks are in the safe hands of our essential services staff, and these are mostly zookeepers and vets who can ensure the welfare of our animals. In fact, all 15,000 of them across all our 4 parks. They are also supporting staff members who look after our critical infrastructures, equipment and systems to assure the safety of our staff and animals.
Dr. Cheng, can you share some interesting stories of how the keepers are, making use of this time to enhance engagement with the animals in the park? For example, the one where we saw where the penguins went for a walkabout?
Yes, providing enrichment and positive reinforcement training have always been critical parts of caring for our animals. They are important to keep our animals healthy mentally and physically. With the temporary closure of our parks, our keepers now have more options, more leeway to be creative, to inject new activities in their care. Since we don't have any human tourists anymore, we thought that our African penguins at Singapore Zoo might take on that role. So our keepers have been allowing them out of the exhibit 2 or 3 times a week as part of an enhanced enrichment program. So far, they've taken to the new role and activity very well, exploring new features and destinations with a lot of enthusiasm. And since they've taken to this program really well, and we think that even when our parks are open, we'll try to figure out some ways to allow them to continue on this activity as well.
And given that things are sort of so closed up, how is WRS reaching out to the public while the parks, have their doors sort of shut?
Yes, we're very glad to be able to share some of the precious moments when the keepers are being very inventive in creating more enrichment experiences for our animals, to be sharing these precious moments on our social media. In fact, for most of us, even who are working in WRS, like the bulk of Singapore, who are being very socially responsible, staying at home, we're all suffering from wildlife withdrawal symptoms. So through this sharing of these postings on our social media, we can continue to stay in touch with the wildlife within Singapore, Wildlife Reserve Singapore.
Okay, well, many thanks for taking your time to speak to us this evening, Dr. Cheng Wen Hauer, Deputy CEO and Chief Life Sciences Officer at Wildlife Reserve Singapore.